earliest superchargers in the aftermarket hot rodding world were centrifugal blowers stuffing air through carburetors, and nothing has changed today. As a matter of fact, I'd say it's more popular than ever, and you're seeing lots of people making way north of 1,000 horsepower blowing through a single 4-barrel carburetor. We've done it a bunch here at Westech Performance, so we're gonna try and have a look at a whole bunch of different products and how they affect the carburetor itself as it's trying to deliver air and fuel. The other thing we're gonna do is investigate the problem that you may not even know that you have with your blow-through carbureted setup, and that is cylinder-to-cylinder distribution. We're gonna have O2 sensors here in every single header pipe, looking at the air-fuel ratio in each cylinder. Let's review that for just a moment. Under boost, we like to see fairly rich air-fuel ratios, sometimes around 11.5 to 1. You could be reading 11.5 to 1 in your single O2 sensor that you've got on one bank of your exhaust. But the truth is, you could have one cylinder that's all the way up at 16 to 1 and ready to melt and destroy itself, and you could have another one really rich at 10 to 1. You just don't know until you have sensors in every hole. Surprisingly enough, yes, these carburetor hats can affect that. So let me tell you what we're gonna do. I'm gonna run through and show you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different hats that we've got here, and we're gonna run each one of them both straight down the carburetor as well as off at a 45-degree angle, because we've seen how that can affect the performance of the carburetor and how it delivers air and fuel to the engine. So, the very first one that we've got here is from CSU Carburetors, kind of a straight over and a straight down program, nothing real special there. Also very straightforward, the ProCharger unit that has just a little bit more of a whoop-de-doo in it and also is a shorter height. Moving on to this extreme velocity, it looks very much like the ProCharger unit, except voila! It's got a big spacer in it, dividing air so that when it's directly in line with the carburetor, it's attempting to even out the flow on the front 2 barrels and the rear 2 barrels. Then we've got this generic, what I'll call a shorty. It has a much lower height than the other ones, and we have seen that height is a big deal. Now the thing is, each one of these carburetor hats, oddly enough, won't fit the carburetor in a straight on sort of orientation because they hit right there on the float level adjuster screw. And so we've had to run a 1-inch spacer under each of these in that scenario. Same is true with this doohickey right here, which is made by Vortex/Paxton. I call it a UFO, and what it is a carburetor hat that goes on there that has sort of an air filter inside it, which is a diffuser. It looks a lot like a K&N air filter minus the cotton. It is just a screen in there, and the thought behind that is that it diffuses all those pressure spikes and strange airflow that might go across the carburetor and create problems. So we'll be testing that as well. So these 2 discharge tubes that you see right here are to accommodate the different orientations of the hats. And the one thing that you will notice on these is that they have a hole drilled in them, which is really unusual. You've seen it on past episodes. It is an organized boost leak. We're trying to keep the power on this engine down to the mid-700s because we don't want to go past 1,000 horsepower because we're pretty sure we're going to see some problems with the tune and run some very lean cylinders, and we don't want to go to the limit of horsepower and melt a piston out of our test engine. The test engine, you may ask, is this right here. First, let's talk about the fueling portion of it, which is the most important thing to what we're doing today. The carburetor is a Demon model that's designed specifically for blow-through supercharging. It's rated at 650 CFM, which would be sort of in normal conditions. Obviously, under boost, it's gonna flow a lot more than that. We know that it can make more than 1,000 horsepower because it's designed to flow that much fuel. On our fuel system, we are gonna be running a boost reference setup with our regulator. That's all from Automotive. The fuel that we're using on this whole test is Sunoco 116 octane. So I think the first thing that we're gonna do is get it on the dyno, and you're not even gonna see a naturally aspirated test here. We're gonna be boosting everything with that ProCharger F1A94, and we're gonna start off with what we believe to be the best scenario, which is the CSU hat plumbed absolutely in line with the carburetor, just like that. All right, you ready for this? Let's go. This is gonna be something.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm not sure. Well, I think I am sure what.
I think we're going to see the extremes, maybe.
I hope so.
I mean, is it only there, really, guys, to connect the supercharger to the carburetor? To physically connect it, and that's all there is to it?
No, there's a whole lot more to it than that. And I think that's where David and I came up with this originally, was back when the boxes were popular.
That's what I used.
We started using boxes because these were so bad.
Yeah.
And we could put something on at a 45-degree angle, it'd misfire. You could actually rotate the hat and hear the misfire at part throttle go away.
Yeah.
And rotate it and come back. And they would just do all kinds of crazy things. It seems like they're a little more squared away now. They've got some height things and a lot of that stuff squared away. But we have some oldies and some newbies,
and we'll find out. Okay, fire it up. Let's go with what we presume to be the best one, which is the taller 90-degree kind of one that we've run a few times, and we know that this baseline's actually going to work. And after that, we'll just mow through them and find out what goes wrong.
All right, let's go.
Goodbye, CSU. Hello, ProCharger. UFO doesn't cut it.
No, it's not that good.
I'll bet you anything it's a boost restriction because of the diffuser in there. I bet it reads less boost in the manifold than the others.
Probably.
Yeah. Before we start talking about all of these, can we just look at why that one lost power and sort of take it out of the mix? Because I think it is a boost problem.
I think we can relate it to boost pretty accurately.
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah,
What we're seeing there is that diffuser inside the, what I'm calling the UFO, is just a boost restriction. And so clearly we could pull it up and get back there and make the power. So the question is, does it actually diffuse and have better distribution than all the others?
Does it?
Does it? So what we're going to do here to sort out which one of these hats we like the most is not look at the horsepower because they're all very similar. Instead, we're going to look at how the carburetor reacted to each one of them and how it delivered fuel and air to each of the cylinders in the engine. We're going to find out if any of them created any radical lean cylinders, which is our main concern for killing parts. Before we get to comparing here, let me tell you what we're looking at. This is a graph of all 8 cylinders in the engine and what the air-fuel ratio is in each one of them. So all the way at the top, they're also labeled here. We've got cylinder number 4, and it's the leanest one, which is almost 13.5 to 1 at the peak. All the way down here, you can see this particular cylinder actually crosses over. I think that one's number 2-ish. And it starts really, really fat, and then it gets leaner and hangs on leaner. And so we're able to look at this whole graph to see, is there one cylinder that's just way off the plot either direction, or are they all really spread apart? And our main interest here is up there at the higher RPM, higher boost, higher load, that there aren't any that are going into the danger zone, which I think for this deal we would call, we don't like 13.5 to 1, but anything worse than that's really bad.
Well, and again, part of that depends on the amount of boost and for how long.
Yeah, how long is a big part of it.
Big part of it.
So between those two, which would be the CSU hat in black and the ProCharger one in red, I think I'm going to give the very slight edge to the CSU.
Yeah, I'm going to say very slight just because it's down just a touch.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. I mean, it's a tie.
Yeah,
really.
Because, I think if we go back and look at the overall average air-fuel ratio of these two, the CSU could be slightly 2 or 3 tenths richer than the
Yeah.
It was.
supercharger hat.
You could see that.
The only thing that influenced me, I think, was this one cylinder, honestly.
outlier.
And they're the same. It's not bad.
It's got a couple over here, but
Yeah.
you know, things are not at this power level at wide open. It's not going to be at 3,900 RPM very long, or 4,000 RPM.
Yeah, so neither one of these is bad, but I am going to take ProCharger out, and currently the CSU is in the lead, but by
Very close.
by a shrug. Okay, red is the extreme velocity, which, as a reminder, is the one with the split in it.
Wow, the
And
CSU.
black is the CSU, and once
Taking
again,
CSU.
that's clearly going to the CSU. Extreme velocity hits the bench.
Yeah, that one was a lot more definite as far as
Yeah.
you could see that spread.
At a glance. So the CSU is currently our winner by a fraction. We're gonna compare it with the little short guy. Ah, look
The
at that.
CSU wins again.
The red here is the shorty and the black is the CSU.
You know, maybe a couple right in here,
Yeah.
tiny bit
Yeah.
of difference. I'm really surprised that short one did so well.
Ultimately, as far as how it would affect your life in the car, I would not concern myself with running any of these in the configuration that we had earlier today, right?
For
Right.
fun, let's take the CSU against the UFO.
Okay, now we're going into the one that's different than these regular hats. We're gonna compare our best one, which is the CSU, to what's on there now, the UFO with the diffuser in it. And
That's a blowout.
CSU wins
That's a
again
blowout.
by a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, originally I think that hat was designed to help this problem.
And
to
when
stop
you and
doing
I
different
tested
things.
it 20 years ago, it was way better.
Yeah.
But I think back then, we probably had the really short one on there with no spacer.
Yeah, and I remember
Yeah.
some of those things that we would have to do
Oh,
to get it there.
no.
We would go all the way around the outside and come in the side of the hats and things.
We
and
did that.
We did not have good entry angle into the carburetor.
And I'll tell you what we were comparing it with. It wasn't a hat at all. It was the full carburetor enclosure.
Okay.
Remember that? Old school Paxton enclosure, and the UFO was better than that. So next round is going to be the 4 carburetor hats at an angle to the carburetor with no spacer on them. This could get ugly. Now we're switching to those crooked hats. They're going to be at 45 degrees, maybe this way. I don't know what Troy's got figured out here, but we're also going to remove this spacer right here, which we think was helping all of those hats, because the taller that they are, the more you've got to turn and the air is going to go down the carburetor instead of across the top of it. So we're going to take this away now. So that's going to be 2 strikes against these hats. They're going to be both crooked and short.
Well, when I went in to just kind of warm it up and do a test run, I noticed that the air-fuel ratio was considerably leaner than it was when we ran it with the hat heading straight in. So I kind of stopped midway in the run, not wanting to damage anything, and it looks like it's almost a full ratio leaner than
Just
it was.
by taking the same hat from straight to crooked.
Yeah, just by moving it that much, we've leaned it up about a ratio. So just as a matter of a comfort level, even though we said, no, let's not jet it, let's just move it, I feel like we really need to go ahead and add some fuel to it just as a safety measure to get it down into kind of a safe range.
So you're just going to toss some jet in the secondary?
Yeah, I'm
and
just
make
going
it
to throw a half a
richer?
dozen in the rear, make it safe, and then we
Yeah.
can proceed on.
One thing I'm already noticing, though, is look how much tighter the grouping is.
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Look at this versus that.
And who would have thought? I would have thought going straight in would be the
Yeah.
best, but you know, so far we're seeing a much tighter group.
Well, we'll know more once we jet it.
Once we jet, that might change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just ran all of the angled carburetor hats, and we sat here for 45 minutes amongst ourselves, just nitpicking that spaghetti. all of this gobbledygook and figuring out the cylinder distribution. We didn't want to bore you with the excruciating details, but I think we can actually wrap it up. We decided that the worst was this guy.
Yeah.
Why?
Extreme velocity with the divider. And it wasn't so bad when it was on the carburetor straight, but when we angled it, that divider is kind of crossing over between a right front primary and a left rear secondary, and it just does some horrible stuff in there.
We saw on that one, I think, a really good lesson, which is there was a bunch of cylinders that were tight together and really rich, and then two that were really lean. And the point about what happens if you've got one O2 sensor averaging all of them.
It's a tuning nightmare because the weight of your average is going to be those rich cylinders, and those two outliers that are already super lean are going to go meltdown mode.
Yeah, completely. Next one that was, I don't know, fairly ungood was the real short one. When we ran it sideways and took the spacer out, what happened there?
We had one cylinder that was kind of the same thing. It wasn't as bad as this, but look, what's the difference whether you blow it up with one piston or two?
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a t-shirt with that. How about all of them? Just roll the dice. Okay, so I think we're deciding that of those of us in this group, we're not using either one of these guys, right?
That one's out.
Yeah, too much of a risk. So we came down to the nitty-gritty looking at the data between the ProCharger guy and the CSU one. And it was really, really close.
Yeah.
We had to pick it to death, but ultimately, CSU rises to the top.
Slightly.
Yeah, just ever so slightly. Honestly, either one of these is just fine with me. Not that any of them are particularly good. My bottom line is still, if you're gonna do something like this, just get sequentially FI. It's gonna make your life so much better.
There are places for it, but you know, there's some guys who are just so uncomfortable with the FI. This might get them by because it does get pretty decent up in the higher RPM ranges. Maybe okay for drag racing, bad for Bonneville.
Yeah.
You know, just...
And the other thing is I just absolutely lied to you, because if Steve and I were sitting around at Roadkill Garage and I'm like, dude, let's throw a ProCharger on my 440.
We would just throw it on.
Yeah.
That's all we would do.
Yeah, we'd probably use it with a you know, thermoquad.
Yeah.
So we would not practice what we preach, but if you're trying to make this power level, I think you should. Okay, so we've looked at a lot of data. We've done a lot of bench racing, and I want to get into final conclusions of what we figured out here, because in truth, this didn't come out nearly as badly as I hoped.
They all worked.
They did.
Bottom line.
Yeah, and I will say in our prior testing from all of us, it's been more frustrating than we saw today. We have seen stuff that won't even run.
Yeah, misfires, you can change the orientation of the hat, and it actually will go in and out of misfire by rotating the hat while the engine's running. I mean, we've seen some pretty ugly stuff.
Yeah, and so this is a peachier situation than we saw today than normal. So let's go through my list. I think number one, when they were all aligned straight with the carburetor, we nitpicked some differences, but they're all the same, really.
Pretty decent.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty decent. They're equal amounts of bad and equal amounts of good.
Yeah.
I would still choose either the ProCharger or the CSU.
I agree.
The UFO, we didn't give that a fair shake, I think, because it's just sort of in a different category. It was such a boost restriction that it killed so much power. And the distribution was not awesome with it, but you could throw a pulley at it and make just as much power as with the other ones.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it was also restricted with a smaller inlet than everything else we ran.
And that's probably the reason I might not use it in the future, is that this is a 3.5er, right?
Right.
And the UFO has a 3-inch hole in it. Next conclusion, and I think this is really the biggie for you at home in the episode, is that carburetor hats do behave differently depending on how they're oriented on the carburetor. So if you've got a good tune-up and you've been drag racing for years and you're like, this is no problem, the next thing you know, you go to a different setup and your distributor's in the way and you're forward and you angle your thing a little bit differently, you could be a full ratio out of whack.
We saw it. We saw it today. Had to go back and put some fuel in the secondary because it changed big.
Yeah. And that is a massive takeaway from this, is that it really can make a difference. As a matter of fact, if you all of a sudden are cruising at the dyno and you've got your nice happy CSU on it with a 1-inch spacer, and next thing you know, you're home going, oof, it doesn't fit my hood. I'm gonna get the little short guy with no spacer. Once again, you could be stumbling into absolute disaster.
It all matters.
Yeah, it all matters. And to quote Brule, I had to write it down.
Really?
Yeah, it was genius. At higher power levels, you just can't take things for granted. Get to the dyno with any of this stuff if you expect to save your engine.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. Speaking of saving your engine, you know what I think would make all of these way better? I'd put a 150 shot under all of these, put a nitrous plate under the carburetor, and I am betting you, no joke, that it will improve this whole scenario.
Look, I'm with you on the nitrous every time.
Right? No, but think about it. We've tested nitrous on dual planes. It improves the distribution. It's forcing fuel down those holes. It's got the fog of nitrous. It's drawing it all together. It's cooling it down. I really think it would be an improvement. And I'm not prepared to do that today, but you know what I am prepared for? Throwing a ton more boost at this to find out, does the carburetor get better or worse when we make 1,000 horsepower?
How did I know you were going there?
Have you seen this show? I have an idea. Let's from now on make every episode 1,000+ horsepower. It'd put me in a way better mood.
It's easy to do.
It is unfortunately super easy to do these days.
Yeah, and a lot of fun.
And it takes your naturally aspirated 318s out of the picture, which makes Steve happy. All is well with the world, as it is every single time on Engine Masters.
In the dark that ignites the sky, feet on the ground, but I'm ready to fly. Shadows can't hold me, I'm breaking free. This is the rhythm of who I'm meant to be. Feel the pulse, let it take control. Heartbeats racing, it's a thunder